Until 400 years ago, Okinawa was a sovereign nation with its own unique culture and language. Unable to live on its meager natural resources, it survived by international trade. For the defense of the nation, it used the art of diplomacy, and so skillfully, its people were regarded as among the friendliest, happiest, and most courteous on earth. It is no accident that the landmark most closely associated with this island nation is known as the Gate of Courtesy. The prevailing tropical winds brought trade to the island chain, making them a place for commerce between people of many nations. The winds that brought Okinawa prosperity also brought the Satsuma samurai from Kyushu in the early years of the 17th century to oppress the peace-loving people of these tranquil islands. The colony of Okinawa, as it had become by the late 19th century, and its inhabitants were viewed by mainland Japanese as backward to the point of being primitive. A place from which sweet potatoes and tropical fruits came, peopled by peasants speaking a dialect unintelligible to their northern neighbours. Enjoying few of the benefits of the population on the mainland, they were nonetheless obliged to serve their emperor as soldiers in his newly formed conscript army when called upon to do so. Two methods existed to avoid this unwelcome obligation. One was to buy an exemption for the princely sum of 270 yen, an option beyond the reach of all but the most wealthy islanders. The other, to be absent when the authorities called. Many young Okinawans opted to spend time in China, to all intents and purposes, studying its language and culture. In reality, they either eked out a living in exile until it was safe to return, studied Chinese boxing, or both. One such youth was Kanbun Uechi, born on May 1, 1877, in the Izumi district of Motobu Township, Kunigami Province. The first son of Kantoku Uechi, he inherited from his father the strength of character appropriate for one of samurai birth. From his mother, a robust and gregarious woman, he acquired a strong physique, warm heart, and open mind. Inspired by stories of Chinese heroes heard during his childhood, and fearful of forced service in the Japanese army, he set off secretly for the mainland in March 1897. The 20-year-old country boy soon found himself alone in the vastness of China, unable to communicate, friendless, and alone. Undeterred and determined to fulfill his dream of becoming a great martial artist, he enrolled at the training hall of the noted master of tiger boxing, Chao Tzu-ho. He was in good company. Another student was Wu Xian-kui, better known as Goken-ki, who would also become an influential figure in Okinawan karate circles and a close friend of Kanbun Uechi and Chojun Miyagi. Master Chao was a traditional instructor who made initiates serve a period of apprenticeship before offering them serious tuition. This frustrated his young Okinawan student. Years later, Kanbun Uechi would tell his son, "All I did for 3 years was sanshin." Very few students survive this test of patience. When I first began training, all I did was clean the training floor and the toilet area. and occasionally try to learn some of the movements by watching my seniors. After a while, students would see me going through my movements by myself and they would give me a little help, but the master would not give me any assistance. Finally, after being thoroughly discouraged and fully resigned to the fact that I was never to learn karate, the master motioned for me to come over. Sanchin training for the students of Master Chow was grueling. Its purpose, then as now, was to build a strong body capable of resisting attacks and developing a mental state so intense and so focused that just to glare at an opponent would make him lose the will to fight. Like so many of the southern Chinese boxing schools, the foundation of Pangai Noon, the style that Kanbun Uechi brought back to Okinawa from China, is Sanchin.
Kata. Sanchin.
We cannot speak of Pangai Noon Karate without speaking of Sanchin. It is the bedrock upon which the style is built and, like all foundations, if it is weak, what it supports will crumble. From your first day of training until your last, Sanchin should be practiced with absolute commitment. Sanchin is, figuratively speaking, the great mountain that you must climb. When you finally reach the summit, the view you will behold will answer all your questions as to the true and inner meaning of the art. The breathing in Pangai Noon Sanchin is natural and smooth. Due to the tenseness of the muscles, it is shallow, up and down, rather than in and out. An opponent should not be able to comprehend your pattern of breathing or the vulnerable transitional period between inhalation and exhalation. The demeanor of the practitioner is one of great determination. The eyes are fixed in an unwavering glare. The muscles tense to shield the internal organs and the throat. Stance and the position of the hands are also important factors which must be studied carefully. Training should be regular and conducted under the guidance of an experienced instructor. It must be rigorous to the point of being austere. A single flawless performance of Sanchin should leave the performer exhausted. Sanchin contains the four fundamental principles of boxing which are, according to the Bubishi, a martial arts manual published in the 17th century, hardness, softness, absorbing and repelling. The Chinese characters from the Bubishi's 8 important precepts of boxing read the method, hard, soft, absorb, eject. From this we understand the method uses hard and soft, absorbing and repelling. The many advantages that Sanchin offers the fighting man come only after long and dedicated training. Sanchin develops the focus, concentration, strength, and unique musculature that are the trademarks of Pangai Noon Karate, and its importance, therefore, cannot be overstated. However, it must be performed with absolute commitment if these benefits are to be felt. The progress of students is checked regularly by the senior instructor. The strength and concentration of trainees is tested by striking them as they perform sanshin. From the student's reaction to his blows, the instructor can determine what adjustments need to be made in their training regime. By attacking his weak spots, the master is able to draw the student's attention to them. Finally, by subjecting trainees to the sort of trauma encountered in combat, they gradually become accustomed to it. Here, a student is using weighted jars as he performs sanshin to strengthen his body and develop a powerful grip. As he grows stronger from the training, sand will be added to the jars to challenge him further. Needless to say, this sort of testing requires great skill and experience on the part of the instructor, as the student's health and welfare are, quite literally, in his hands. The decision when, where and how to strike can only be made safely by the most experienced practitioners. The training methods of Pangai Noon are traditional, that is, what was found to work in earlier times has been preserved, and what didn't, discarded. Clearly, it is a very practical style that offers much, while making great demands on those who study it. This exercise demonstrates very graphically that even when strongly resisting pressure to his abdomen, he can still breathe comfortably and remain strong. This ability results from the focus and muscle control developed by sanshin training. The student's progress is also tested by striking his body with hard objects as he performs sanshin. If he is thoroughly trained, he will not react significantly when struck, and hard objects will break easily on his unyielding body. Clearly, it would be very difficult to unnerve an opponent who can remain balanced, calm, and apparently unaffected while wood is broken across his shin. By the same token, it would be difficult to withstand an attack from the same quarter when, as we will see later, that shin can shatter 4x2s without difficulty. At the highest levels of ability, even lightly supported objects can be broken with ease using relatively weak areas of the body. The breaking of objects is not considered a normal part of karate training, but a testing procedure. If the student's body is strong and his technique well developed, breaking will confirm this. This should not be attempted until a high degree of competence is acquired through training with a qualified instructor, and then only under close supervision. This ability to break hard objects does give an idea of the power of karate. It is the energy of a highly trained body channeled through well-executed techniques and delivered to the target with perfect focus. From viewing these techniques in slow motion, their precision can be clearly observed. Years of training polish the human body and mind to a point where the seemingly impossible is performed with apparent ease. The martial art of Pangai Noon Karate begins and ends with Sanshin. It is the signature of the style, making its exponents easily identifiable by their physical appearance and fighting strategy. It is not simply a series of movements to be performed in a particular order, but a complete system of physical and mental development with ancient, if obscure, origins. Sanshin distinguishes this from more modern forms of karate that have developed since the art was made public less than a century ago. Pangai Noon is uncompromising in its goal of producing fighters who can survive and prevail in the most extreme forms of violent physical encounters. It has no purpose other than self-defense. It still exists because it is extremely effective. It prospers because there is still a need. It will survive because conflict is the nature of man. While many styles of karate appear similar to each other, Pangai Noon differs from the norm in a number of ways. While it shares its emphasis on the practice of Sanshin kata with Uechi-ryu, and with it forms a style group known as Nahate, its kata are different, as are a number of its techniques. Many of the obvious differences are due to its closeness to its Chinese roots. Shushiwa taught Kanbun Uechi, and his students, Kannei Uechi, Seiyu Kinjo, and Saburo Uehara, taught Shinyu Gushi, the author of this program. As it is a very demanding style, it never became widespread. Therefore, the passage of 3 generations has made little impact upon the techniques the founder brought back from China almost a century ago. Above all else, Pangai Noon is based on the practice of Sanshin to develop muscular power, resilience, and fortitude. As generations of Pangai Noon practitioners know from their founder, all is in Sanshin. In part 2 of this series, we will cover the basic techniques of Pangai Noon, as well as a kata, kanshiwa, and kanshu. Subsequent programs will deal with the more advanced aspects of Pangai Noon, as well as the arts of the bow, eku, and jifa. This program was presented by Shinyu Gushi 8th Dan, assisted by Tsukasa Gushi and Makoto Fukumoto.
The Dragon Associates website features everything from fast-breaking news to a martial arts store, information on the latest videos to back issues of Dragon Times and Fighting Arts magazine. For information you can depend on from the best instructors and martial arts writers in the world, visit us on the World Wide Web at www.dragon-tsunami.org. Dragon Associates since 1968. Tsunami martial arts videos are recognized worldwide as the very finest of their kind. Tsunami's dedicated production team has captured, in their most perfect form, the classical schools of karate. In doing so, they have produced a historical resource of enormous value to this and future generations. The best instructors, the best photography and sound, the best writing and research. Tsunami, the best martial arts videos in the world.